Okay, we should be live.
I think we're live.
Yeah. We should
Hello,
probably
everybody.
check. Should we
Yeah,
check?
let's check on YouTube. So I think today what I wanted to talk about with you, because I think you've got some expertise in this area, is kind of like what do you do with all of the photos that you take? And it came up actually in a talk this morning at you tuned in, but like
Well,
Kelsey Hightower and Dan Mayer, who you may know
yeah.
from some places. Yeah, we're talking about stuff, and one of the
Yeah.
things that they mentioned was all those photos you take on your phone, where do they go? Or maybe like another way is like, if you know where they go, how do you know to find the good photo? And like, what does that look like? Is it curation? Is it backups? Is it printing? What do you do with all this stuff? So all this digital media that we create, photos of your children, all that stuff.
Just in time. Hey, sweetie.
Where does it go? What do you do with it?
It seems that
What's that
Stella
workflow do?
woke up.
Aha.
Uh-huh.
And I figured you'd be the perfect person to ask, and maybe Stella's a great example. Like, what do you do with photos of your child?
Yeah, I suck at this. I really have no good. I have no good. I mean, I take them all on my iPhone, and I do have to do curation quite often, just because I have a shared family album.
Okay.
And so that kind of forces me to pull out the best.
That's good. And when you say shared, is that like shared between your wife and yourself, or like the rest of your family? Like what is this?
Yeah, so that's the people who are invited to that are my wife, and well, I mean, although she can see all my photos, I think. And my mother and her mother and all of her extended family, my sister. But Stella's birth parents are not on that. I'm also doing another share on SmugMug, because I think they are Android and not. I don't know if I can. Can I do I don't think I can share the iPhone or iOS photos with an Android user.
I like that you already got to like the first wrinkle. So like, yeah, I feel like the answer for a lot of people is like the default is, if I'm on iPhone, I'll use iCloud. If I'm on Android, I'll probably use Google Cloud. Samsung, maybe Samsung Cloud. But like, again, similar to iMessage and SMS, there's like a divide there. And that's kind of what I was getting at in terms of that. So you're on iCloud, they're on Android, and I think they can maybe use a web browser to get on. But like that's not the seamless experience that your wife probably enjoys in that you can select it. The other is, how are you curating? Like, what does that workflow look like? Are you hearting them? Are you like adding them to a certain folder?
Hold on a second.
Technical problems.
My phone died, and I need to. I need to turn on the power to the teleprompter so that I can look at the camera and see you, instead of looking at the camera and then seeing you.
I'm trying to look at the camera for the audience. I think the main thing that we covered last
time
is like how to overcomplicate your life, right?
And I've totally gotten out of focus. There are too many buttons.
Yeah, I think that was a conclusion that we came to last time. There's so many different configurations that you can do with a computer these days. If like all you want to do is talk to somebody online, that there's a lot between you and that conversation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do wonder. So when you're curating, are you like putting a heart on them? Are you starring each one? Are you putting them into a different folder? What does that process?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for that use case, I am. I think it's usually when one of my mother's friends complains to my mother that I haven't shared enough photos recently. Then I go through my photos looking for the good ones and share them to the family album, which everybody sees.
Yeah.
And then when I feel really bad that I haven't shared it to the SmugMug channel, then I update. I use some other photo sync tool that will automatically synchronize everything in the family album to SmugMug, although I'm hitting limitations where SmugMug won't work with that many photos. If too many photos of Stella.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that
Do you have a
manual
better?
process. No, I don't. I
Yeah, I
don't.
mean,
So that manual process is really interesting to me. So I also have a partner, and we share our stuff back and forth, and some of it is like AirDrop, maybe. Although I realize on
yeah,
Android that's a little bit different. And then I know like things that came through on AirDrop, maybe the selects, but also, and when I say selects, like the ones that we maybe
right,
like or have selected, curated out of the
right,
others. But then if they go like if you do that twice, then you end up with duplicates, and you don't know, maybe you don't know where
yeah,
the photo originated, and it becomes this whole
yeah.
comedic thing. And then all you're doing is adding more noise to the signal. So you just got a
Yeah.
lot of photos, and that's great. We've both got them backed up, but they're in the cloud, and then there's just so many that going into them and looking at them is hard. So I guess one of the things
And
we
then you
do,
make the mistake of synchronizing it with one other place that is already synchronizing it back. And now you've got duplicates or maybe
or
triplicates.
triplicates,
And now
yes,
you have to go through and find out, well, what's the pattern of the duplicate file name
yes,
to be able to get, and you don't want to let something automatically figure it out because
yes.
it's gonna, I've lost photos that way.
It's so terrible. So yeah, it's like _2 or copy one, copy two.
Yeah.
We'll do it. There's so many different ways of doing it. The other is so you've got all this. Imagine if you just don't. So you've got your duplicates and you just like,
Yeah.
well, I'll just leave them because I'm scared. I'm gonna get rid of
Yeah.
something, and then you run out of space on like SmugMug or Google Photos or Flickr or Dropbox or what have you. The
Right.
next is, do you ever like print them off or write them to a DVD? I know, or like a Blu-ray or a USB disc. What tells you, like, if SmugMug were to, yeah, you print them.
I printed 5 of them.
Okay,
Which I mean, so I for these, and then I've got so these are the art museum at Bainbridge Island, some jellyfish at Monterey Aquarium, and then right over here is right by the GM headquarters, a picture of my niece.
right.
Over here is a photo of the lighthouse on Key Biscayne, where I grew up in Miami, and right here is the I don't know, the Zykem Bridge in Boston. And so for those, I went to my main collection of photos that is in Lightroom, which is the one reason I pay Adobe, I don't know, $10 a
Creative
month
Cloud.
for
Yeah.
so I can have Lightroom. And um, and so there I've got, I don't know how big my catalog or library or whatever is. I think it's probably at about 150,000 images.
Okay.
But then I have to sift through because not all 150,000 are any good. There's a lot of crap in there.
Right.
And so then you're finding, hoping that you did some sort of cataloging sometime in the last 15 years, and can find the really good ones. And most of these are ones that I remembered, so that I could ship them off to Gick Acoustics to have them printed up.
Right. And is that more of a function of like they were taken during a specific time, so you knew where to scroll to find them, or were they rated or
Yeah.
maybe tagged?
Yeah. I mean, so sometimes for some of the photos in Lightroom, I was really good about saying where they are.
Right.
And so with Lightroom, I can say, I've got a tag of United States, and I've got subtags that are Michigan. And then I've got subtags of that, which are Detroit. And then I've got subtags of that, which are where the GM headquarters building is.
Right.
And the same thing for Miami, or Monterey, or Bainbridge Island. And so for some of them, I was really good about that. Others, I wasn't. And
if
I think
asked
I
you,
go through
like,
phases.
if I said, "Hey, I really like that one from the GM or Monterey," would you be able to
Mhm.
then go back and get it? Like when you printed them, did they go into a different folder, like a 2-print folder or something like that? You can kind of see where I'm
Mhm.
going, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
rubric here where I think like the more you use the images, the more you'll remember
Yeah.
them, but you won't go back and look at like the sum total of all the images.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and it depends on when did I ingest them.
Mm.
Did I do it in the last 5 years, in which case I probably didn't tag it well. If I did it 10 years ago, which actually none of these are 10 years ago.
Is this the post-child era? Is that what we're talking about here?
I don't know what the, I think it's yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's when did Stella come into our lives, and is she asleep? So
No, she's awake. She's just watching TV.
Ah,
Sorry.
okay.
There you go. Easy peasy.
Yeah. Watch it. And I think after, let's see if I can find it real quick.
What happened?
Actually, no. The other problem is I come into Lightroom so rarely that I can't remember how I organize anything.
Right. So I'll give you kind of what at least in Lightroom I feel like I'm pretty organized, but I do it by date. So if it's a trip or like you're talking about a place, if I know that I went somewhere, then I know I went there that date. It's not that bad. What I will do at the end of every, we'll call it a shoot, even though it's not, I will go through and I'll rate them. And generally for me, like there's no 5 stars. I'm trying to like keep the ego in check here. So generally something I like will get a 1 star. And then if I go back to it again, I'll give it a 2 star or something like that. And I use multiple services. So like we talked about SmugMug, we talked about Google Photos. It'll be everywhere. But I think when we're talking about Lightroom, to me at least, Lightroom's good at a lot of stuff. But to me, it's really good at digital asset management. So like a dam, and it's pretty good at photo editing and stuff like that. But for me, it forces me to go through that workflow. And this is like I stole Kelby's workflow. I'm not sure if you know, but like the Kelby Lightroom book from way back when. I think Lightroom 1, Lightroom 2, something like that. He talks about a workflow. I have those books. Keeps refining. Yeah, they're pretty good books. And he talks about like here's a workflow to get you started. Like use the dates that they suggest and stay with it. But the problem I've got is like I feel like all the photos that I really want to remember down the road aren't in Lightroom. They're like phone photos or something like that. And I don't use Lightroom mobile, but do you ever dabble in the mobile version?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, and I'm using Lightroom Classic, not the cloud.
Same here.
One, so I'm not using and I'm using whatever's on the $10 Adobe photo plan. And so I think I could probably use the cloud one, but then I'm probably limited. I probably don't have enough storage, so I'd have to have more. But actually for any photos that are more recent, let's see, are these, I think actually all these were taken with my GH5. But for anything on the phone, on the iPhone, power came back.
Look at that.
For anything on here, I can open up photos and then do a search, and the search is like magic.
Right.
I mean, I can, let me go into photos.
So if you look for like children or child or kid or something like that, we'd probably find your daughter's photos.
Yeah. In fact, of course, now search isn't working, so I can't search for photos. I don't know. But when you go into the Photos app, I could search for bridge, and it'll find pictures of bridges around the world.
Oh, I haven't tried that. Okay, that's
or lighthouse, or on the water, and it'll show me all the pictures that were taken when I was on the water, which is like magic. How'd that do that?
It is. I think they're saying like some of the stuff is offline, some of it's online, but also I feel like what we're kind of touching on here, and this is maybe what's key to all of this, is like the metadata. So whether or not you hint, like you tell the phone to add metadata to it, or whether or not it's a function of where you are. Because I've noticed the iPhone will tell you, if I knew I took something in Las Vegas or Death Valley or something like that, I can search for those locations and it will find them, assuming that I'm paying for my iCloud, whatever 2 terabyte a month backup thing. Yeah, there you go.
So I just did a search for bridges, and it came up with a railroad bridge and other bridges in Boston, and I mean, that's magic.
It is pretty magic.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is, and maybe we've skipped all the way ahead to where I want to get, but like that automatic metadata collection, I feel like is the only way that people are going to be able to do this. But what it won't do is curate for you. It won't tell you, hey, this is a good photo. It will do the memories though. Have you gone through that before?
Yeah.
Or it will curate the stuff for you.
And it'll create a little movie as like
Yeah.
the right emotional music to it. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. What I've noticed, and I think this may be a function of being Canadian, is that it will often put music to the film on my phone, which is great. But when I go to export it as a
Mhm.
movie or send it to somebody, it removes the music,
Mm,
which is unfortunate. So we can look at it together,
right.
but I can't necessarily export it for the family without swapping the
Right.
soundtrack. But I do like what is it? Is it the Burns effect where it will like zoom in
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Ken Burns. Yeah.
Ken Burns, yeah. Which I actually find it's not novel or anything like that. It's been around for a while, but I do find that very entertaining because that's something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you'd have to boot up iMovie and like make this, I don't know, like 8 GB file just to like get these stuff to
Right.
pan and zoom. Yeah, I
Right.
really do enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, does Lightroom have? I mean, I'm sure the cloud version of Lightroom probably has features like that.
We should try it. Yeah. So this is kind of
Yeah.
like an exercise. Maybe we should try it. What it does do is
Yeah.
facial detection. So it will do GPS
Okay.
lookup in the Lightroom
Right.
Classic, and it will do face detection if you run it. But when you run it, it will bring your computer to its knees. This is one of those like let's try it on Matt's new M1 laptop to see how bad it is.
Right.
It will do face detection, but it's quite slow, and it will pin your CPU. At least in my
Yeah.
experience, and it's so bad that I can't use my laptop for days because I have a big library, which makes it
Oh,
not
right.
useful. Whereas iCloud does it as you go along, which is so much better.
Right.
I
I
guess
don't even know where
the
I'd search
corollary
for it.
here would be the corollary would
Huh.
be like something like Google Photos. Did you ever play with like they had a backup? I think with Picasa back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever do like those automated Google Photo kind of things that it did?
No,
Okay, because it would
but I
make
do remember
animated.
Picasso. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
but I
Picasso
forgot
was a
all
big
about
deal.
it.
Yeah. Sorry, this is too
So
old
whatever
folks talking
photos I
about
had
photos.
on there are probably gone.
Well, I think they'll probably migrate it to a folder in your Google Drive called Google Photos, is what I
Hmm.
noticed. Because I
Okay.
was also a Picasso user, which is handy
Yeah.
because I thought it was going to get rid of them all, and I wasn't very
Right.
happy about that. One of the things it would do is auto HDR. So if I took like 7 shots
Mm.
of various
Hmm.
exposures, it would blend them together.
Yeah.
I haven't seen iPhone do that
Oh,
yet.
that's
The
nice.
other is
Yeah.
if I took many shots in a row, it would do like little moving images. Now, of course, we know like what is it, HEIC photos that like the live
Mhm.
photos that iPhoto will
Right.
take these days, or iPhones will take these days. But some of those features are pretty awesome at the time, and I feel like some
Yeah.
of them have made the jump to like
Yeah.
iPhone or iOS. Some of them have definitely been like Google Photos only. And the other one that I really liked was Auto Panorama. So if I did a
Hmm.
bunch of shots together, it would stitch them together for
Yep.
me automatically. And
Yep.
like I'm sure you've done this before, but this is one of those other things. So just bring your computer to its knees. It's just awful, depending on the amount of shots you've taken. It's
Yeah.
so bad. It's so bad. Are there any other
Yeah.
like? Because that's all I know in terms of those automated curation things. Is there anything in SmugMug that you've seen, or any of these
No, I
other?
mean, SmugMug
No.
is super basic. In fact, I don't know if even SmugMug is the right platform for what I should be doing because
Right.
I think the real benefit with SmugMug is that somebody with a big library could then choose certain photos to have
Licensing.
printed
Yeah. Okay.
and I can set up a storefront and you can
Right.
buy my photos, which I think was one of the intentions. I thought, oh, secondary income source, it'd be awesome. Yeah, that never happened.
I'll be rich. Some of
I'll be
that, like
rich, yeah.
what I've noticed. So I'm not sure if you've ever done stock photography. I played around a little bit with iStock, and one of the biggest things I noticed was that one, your photos have to be pretty good. So to get into one of these stock
Yeah.
photo places, they have
Yeah.
to be a certain caliber, and even down to like chromatic aberration. There can't be any like lateral fringing or anything like that, which is tough. Oh, here we go. But the
Okay.
other
I was
is
looking
the
green.
metadata. Yeah. The other is the metadata. So for people to find your
Yeah.
shot to print it in
Yeah.
SmugMug, you'd have to have it tagged. It would have to be
Yeah.
like of a subject that they want to print. That
Right.
discoverability is very difficult in photos, and that's where like SmugMug doesn't do that automatic bridge detection
Yeah.
or anything, does it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, tagging so that you understand it is one thing, but tagging so other people are going to understand it is
Right.
challenging.
Aside from automated, so when you're sharing photos around, is there any curation done by the people that you send it to? Like, do they?
No.
My wife, for example, will send things to Facebook. So for her, that's a curation
Right.
step. So selecting the photos to
Ah,
share to Facebook is a
yeah.
step, and then if you go through Facebook Photos, you'll see most of the good ones that we've shot over the years.
Right.
Do they like star them or rate them or heart them or print them?
So I guess the photos that I'm sharing with other groups are all with Stella, and
Right.
I don't think I have shared any photos of Stella online
No, we've never put
ever.
any photos still online.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my
Yeah.
secondary, my
No.
background
I hear that.
voice.
Yeah. The peanut gallery is nice, and like I can
Yeah.
appreciate that as well. There's like a certain amount of like privacy maybe that you want as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
I totally understand.
I think it's I've heard that of like you know any executive of any social media company, they do not share their personal information online. I mean, they know how evil it can be, and
Right.
so they do not
They
do
know
it.
how the system works. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do find that part pretty telling, I think, right? If you're looking at maybe a Bezos or a Zuckerberg
Yeah.
or a Musk or what have you, right? They may not be doing it. And look, I know you've worked for large corporations, as have I,
Right.
and there are algorithms that can help tie information pieces together
Yep.
in like a graph, like a social graph, I think is what they generally will call it. But like it, typically for advertising, but unfortunately it can lead, it like protect your privacy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very important.
Actually, we had bought this house. Now it's a year and a bit ago, and when we did that, I shared a photo of the house with a friend of ours, Jason,
Okay. Yeah.
and I didn't share the listing. I just shared a photo, and within seconds, he had the listing up because he did a Google image search. It's like,
Right.
oh, of course.
Now for
So-
the listeners, explain to us how that works, because this is, some people don't know about this.
Magic, yeah. So if I find a photo, and I've done this a bunch of times with folks who will share photos of the evil caravan coming up from South America to invade America, and so you take do a screenshot of that photo and go to a page on Google.
I think it's
I've always
images.google.com.
is okay, and then upload that photo or just drag it to the search box, and it will show you where this photo came from, or where is this online. And so in the case of a photo from obviously a real estate photo, because we had all the real estate photos, you put that on there and it'll show you here's a listing that hosted that photo. Or in the case of the evil migration, it'll show you, oh, actually this was from San Salvador or El Salvador 10 years ago,
Exactly,
and completely different time. And then you share the truth, and people don't want to. So that's an amazing service for finding all sorts of things. I mean, and I found, if you have you see anytime you see a photo and you want to know, well, what's the origin? Who is this person really, or where is this place really? You can easily find, well, if it's been posted online, you can find out where it is.
Definitely. Have you ever heard of the term Finsta? Has that come across your desk before? So Finsta is like a fake Finsta. So Finsta is a fake Instagram account, and generally it's made up of photos that people have stolen, and they want to build it up to a certain following so that they can get sponsorships, so they can get money. Now, back in the day, there was a tool called TinEye that would do very similar. Reverse search. What Google Images will do, though, which I find this is sort of next level, is we'll find image similar to that image, which I find that boggles the mind. And what I think a lot of times people will find out the Finsta accounts by basically putting them into the image search and saying, hey, this was shared by something else. Or in Reddit, you can say like, this actually, you didn't really take this photo, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So on the social networks, a lot of people will try to pretend that they took amazing shots. It's like, well, the lunar eclipse that you're showing me actually was taken like 30 years ago. Like,
on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, the moon's way too big. Yeah, exactly. This is the wrong angle and all this other stuff, which I find pretty funny. But that reverse image search is something that people aren't aware of, at least in my experience. They don't understand that you can do this, which is kind of odd.
And it's not always super convenient to use. I like on an iPhone. I'm not sure what the right way of. I ended up coming back to my computer to do it correctly.
Supposed to work. I couldn't get it to work either.
Yeah.
Same as me. Now on the privacy side, a couple questions here, and this is something that I saw on Flickr all the time. Do you ever take pictures of like keys or barcodes or any of these things, right? Yeah. Or like IDs or boarding passes.
Or COVID forms, those that people were sharing. Yeah. No, in fact, I saw a video pretty recently where somebody said, "Oh, we just bought a house," and they like showed their keys, and the video was about somebody basically duplicating the key from that photo, which is cool. I mean, because I guess you know generally, for any region, generally the kind of key that's used in that region or that area.
Like a Slage or whatever. Yeah.
Although I tried to get my key duplicated from my apartment in Amsterdam, and I was back here in the States. I wanted to give my parents my key just in case they come over, and I went to like several lock shops, and they looked at it.
Oh, they didn't have blanks.
We've never seen a key like this because it's like a 3-dimensional key. I mean, it's got it's like a cross, the main thing, and then it's a slightly. I think it's a different shape on each of the 4 sides.
That's really cool.
Like, this is bizarre.
Huh. That's very, very interesting. I feel like there's people, and this is a little bit maybe orthogonal, but there's people doing like fob copies and stuff like that as well now. Well, what I wanted to get to is like a fob, like your fob, like a HID.
Yeah, what's that? The flipper. That little device flipper. It's you can buy. I don't know. I don't know if you can still buy it, but it will copy any key card or
what?
Oh, it looks pretty cool.
Oh no! Don't try this at home, kids. Wow, that is amazing. I guess where I was going with this, a lot of people like they will use their phones to take pictures of documents, and those documents will end up in their iCloud, and they may be scanned as well, just the same way we're talking about like facial recognition, because iCloud can now OCR and do like text search as well. So like if you've got, I don't take a picture of your credit card, obviously, but if somebody has done this, or their keys, or a barcode, or an ID, or anything like that. We got.
Did it work?
Flipper Zero. There we go.
Flipper 0.1.
Multi-tool device. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
What is the Flipper Zero?
Yeah, so something to play with.
I do feel like as people are using the phone as almost like a photocopier as well, so like or prove identity. Like people will ask you, like, take a photo of your ID, you holding your photo to prove that like you are you. Especially in the age of like digital KYC, like know your client, to prove that like, hey, when I'm signing up for an exam, for example, with Microsoft, and I'm doing like online proctoring, how do you prove that you're me? Like, I don't know. Are they copying my driver's license number? Where's this info going? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. Aren't we? I mean, I say we. You now at Datadog with certification. Exactly. You're working with the certification providers. How do you verify that you are? That the certification is going to be done by you and not the person you just paid to do it for you.
Yeah, and you and I are perfect examples for this, because like my name's pretty generic. I assume yours is as well, right? Like, how do I know that this Matt Williams?
There's a few Matt Williamses, is
the real Matt Williams, or the Ryan McLean is this Ryan McLean? And also like looks the same that's not necessarily the
Yeah.
right thing. Like people can get haircuts and grow a beard kind of thing
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's really a mess. But I think where I'm going with this is like when you scan these documents, they end up in your iCloud folder and they sit there in perpetuity, but you don't know to go in and get rid of them. It's not like they're incriminating evidence or anything like that.
Yeah.
You may not want them to be like downloaded or backed up, because I think the next step for me is like, hey, can I get a hard drive from you with all these shots so that I've got like a physical thing? Have you ever dealt with a service that will do that, like ship you a hard drive of all your stuff?
I know that like I use Backblaze for one of my main backups, and so if you've got so much content and such a slow connection, either way, though you either send them a drive or they send you a drive, and I guess that's the case with what is it? Not Snowflake, but it's one of the AWS services where they'll like ship you a big box with the. I mean, I seem to remember it even had like a Kindle as a shipping label. Just it was a totally reusable box. Yeah. Or there's a bigger one where they bring a truck.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Snowmobile, is that one of them? It's all got to do with Glacier.
It was Snowball. Wasn't it Snowball?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, for that digital on-ramp. Have you used the Backblaze?
But I mean, the only time, I mean, we've used other services where they give you a, like for our wedding photos, they gave us a little USB stick with the photos.
Right. And do you still have that stick? Is that considered like the archive?
We do have that somewhere. Yeah, we do have that. Yeah.
And they do last a while. At least like if it's not a hard drive, the USB stick will last a while.
I mean, I have I just found a CD-ROM with all the photos from when I was in Boy Scouts back on Key Biscayne, and our Scoutmaster took a whole bunch of photos, and they're all on this CD-ROM. I don't have a CD-ROM player, but we have a CD-ROM.
Have you gone through the era of like CDs that you've backed up, like archived or what have you, where they start to flake? Because that certainly happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was cutting costs or something. Yeah. And it's like, well, that was my archive, and I only had one archive, and it turns out like my archive was actually my backup. Like I didn't really have.
Or your archive is on that zip drive.
I've certainly done that. We're talking like zip disk, right? Yeah, for the kids on the phone.
The Omega.
Yeah.
I've got the drive right over there. But I think it's gone. It might be a serial connection for that. I don't know, or a parallel port.
Yeah, a lot of them were like SCSI. SCSI or parallel. And again, like we're talking massive plugs, right? You can tell like the era that they're from, and they were really slow. And all it was the size of 100 floppies. They were just not like the seventh of a CD, basically. They're quite small. But like for us,
I mean, you can still use a cassette player, but if your backup from your Commodore 64 is on your cassette, are you not only going to have the right equipment, but the right interface to be able to load that stuff up? Probably not going to put too much stuff on the cassette. But anyway, yeah.
I like it. This whole archival thing is very interesting because we talked about prints, and then we talked about sort of the digital way to back things up or store them. And then maybe you're doing select, so like my best photos 2021 kind of thing. Me on the couch ordering Uber Eats, like the whole year, the album, right? You can print them off, but also like if they're in the sun, they might fade. So you need to know where the originals are in order to reprint them. And it becomes like this whole thing. Like it's almost like chicken and egg. Like which one of these originals do I have? Am I downloading photos from Facebook? Am I somehow going into iCloud? Am I asking the friend that I shared things to like send them back to me because I can't find them? Like I've had people do that. I've shared them stuff on Dropbox, and they've lost the photos, and they come back to me years later like, hey, I lost my wedding photos. Do you still have them? And like, I'm sure people charge for this, but I'm like, here they are. Here are your wedding photos. No problem. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of the times, not only.
I mean, I feel like the same thing happens with software that I buy, and I've lost the license. I've lost that email that has the license to whatever tool it was, and if you're lucky, they used PaddleSoft or some other company that still exists to be able to download that license, but a lot of times they'll download it to your original email, and I don't have access to my, I don't know, Matt Williams at opentext.com or some other company that I use to work, my Microsoft email. I'm not going to be able to get that again.
Yeah, it's so true. Like
yeah.
Digital River, I think, is one of those ones where maybe it's like PaddleSoft, but like they are actually pretty good at helping you recover your license. Because it's certainly happened to me before. I've lost the email, lost access to that account because I was just using, I don't know, some domain that I was playing with at the time.
Yeah.
And like I get it. Like a lot of people will have maybe one email, maybe two, that kind of stuff, like their personal and their business kind of thing. But I definitely have at least 3 that I use all the time, if not like 4 with business, if not plus. And it's really difficult. Like same thing, if I shared Dropbox to one email and you lose access to that school email or what have you, then those photos are gone, unfortunately.
Right. Or you have, you had one email service that was a pay service, and then some new thing came out that with a free email service, and you switch over to that, and oh well, that older one kind of eventually goes away because you forget that you even had it, and then that free one says, oh, that free plan that you're on for life, we're actually canceling that in June, which is the Google free enterprise accounts.
I love how you're hitting all these notes. So this is the next one. So the reason I use Google Photos is because yes, at one point in time you could get Google. I think it was $5, and they give you unlimited G Drive storage, and I signed up for that. And I feel like they immediately realized this is a terrible idea. Like 3 days later, you couldn't do it anymore. But I had set up, I think, 5 accounts with Google. I know this is in bad faith. I thought it was a great deal, and I am paying them now $10. For it's still unlimited though storage, and I've got probably 3 terabytes. Like all of my photos are in there. We haven't even touched on video yet because like that's coming. But like all of that is there in one domain, but the other one is full. I think it was 4 gigabytes. It's full, and they want like a pretty penny to get basically a custom domain on my Gmail. Did you see the news that apparently you can now sign up for a free account? You can transition to like a new plan that isn't the same, but it's very similar. And maybe we can put a link in the YouTube video after it's published. But as of this morning, at least, it seems that they've gone back a little bit on their plans, which is nice. Because I'm glad you got here because this is like a big worry for me as well. Yeah, right. And I feel Go ahead.
No, we have another paid email that my wife and I set up for kind of the home business kind of stuff. And because I'm, ex Microsoft, I have really cheap access to,
365.
365 business level account. And so we've got that now. And do we pay for that forever? Do we start sending licenses to that? In which case, that one service you see once a year goes to that. Oh God, it's just
and that is the nugget, right? So there's like the cost of migrating to another email service is non-trivial. Not cost in terms of like money or time, but like also the effort. So all those 3 together, it might be like if this is a triangle, that the effort side might be very, very long because exporting your email from Gmail into something, let's assume it's Thunderbird, and then dragging it all back over into another service is non-trivial. It takes a while. Sometimes it will just fail because I've done these like manual email migrations. It's just not good. And were you around for Hotmail? Are you of this vintage as well? Yeah.
What's that?
Are you of the vintage of the Hotmail accounts?
Oh yeah. Is Hotmail still? I remember when I was at Microsoft, Hotmail was kind of the one semi-embarrassing thing for Microsoft because they were trying to get everyone to Exchange, and Hotmail was running. I think it was Hotmail that was running still on BSD, and I don't know if they ever transitioned, but that was a big deal at the time. It might have become less of a big deal.
So during that time, I'd flagged a bunch of email or something like that. And when I moved from what happened was they adopted you onto Outlook.com, which is fine. But they did say in this migration, if you don't like do something, if you don't do these steps, when we migrate you'll lose your email. And it turned out like in most of the email that I lost is like not important,
Yeah.
but some of them were things that like years later I would have liked to have access to. Like I wrote an email to my family when I was in Japan in Shift JIS in English characters in a Japanese character set, and they could never read it. And like now I could probably decode that, but I've lost this embarrassing like 6-pager, you know, about like how things are going. And I'd email them like once every month or something. It was terrible. So it was a long email.
Yeah.
And it's just gone. It's when it migrated over, I didn't follow the steps or whatever, and it's gone. But I feel when we're talking about the Picasas, or when we're talking about like the smug mugs or the 500 pixels, or them talking about Flickr, that migration
pixels,
of your digital content needs to go through. Or like, I don't know if you've ever not backed up in a while for Backblaze, but they'll get rid of your backups, which was a surprise to me. Like, wait, you get rid of my backups? Like, what am I?
Which is why I pay the extra for the year backup. Because I got really close to, I was like at day 29.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I gotta
in there
because my I mean a drive. I have a 8 terabyte drive attached to my iMac, and for some reason it wasn't connecting, and I couldn't figure it out until I don't know day 31. It's like, okay, fine, paid.
Yeah, that's literally what I did as well. 8 terabyte drive on a Thunderbolt dock, and it wasn't connected properly. Yeah, it's rough. But that local backup is kind of. I love how you're hitting all the posts here. So like all the things I wanted to talk about is great. I didn't even give you an agenda. But like the next one is that local backup. So you've got an 8 terabyte drive, presumably because your laptop will fill up. Now, do you ever plug your iPhone into your laptop to back up to that drive, or is it disconnected completely?
That's always doing iCloud. I don't know, 2 terabytes with iCloud, so that's always getting backed up. As long as it's, I guess every time it charges, it backs up as well. I think it's under power. I don't know. It's always backing up.
Gotcha. And is that just a single drive, or is it in like a Synology or some QNAP or something like that?
That iCloud, I mean, that's just iCloud.
Oh no, I mean the local drive.
Oh, that local drive. Yeah, that's it's right there. It's a drive right there. Right there.
It's just a bare drive. It's like a LaCie or something like that. Or
no, it's I don't know. I found some RAID. I have it. I have two probably 4 terabyte drives that are RAID 0.
You're joking, right?
No. But I got it back. That's all getting backed up. So it's terrible. It's terrible.
For the listeners, let's explain why RAID 0 might not be the best bet. But why would RAID 0 not be?
Either one of those drives go, all your data goes.
And those drives will go. Like it's a question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They might even be. Can you get 4 terabyte SSDs?
You can, yeah.
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay. That at least the SSDs are a little bit more reliable. Like I've had some fail, but they don't seem to fail all at once, kind of thing, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, Backblaze is my backup for that.
Right. So you've got like a local cache, right? And this is kind of where I'm going.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, a local cache.
Yeah. There's like steps, right? So there's like your laptop. There's maybe your iPhone. There's your laptop. There's your local cache, which is that disk or 2 disks. And then, so you don't have a local NAS. I do, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then presumably from there, you go to Backblaze. And that's kind of like the archive. And what we used to call that like bronze storage or whatever. Like the tiering would be something like gold, silver, bronze, maybe platinum, maybe silver, depending on what you're like putting your levels at. But I feel like that's sort of the responsible thing to do. And especially like as technology professionals, we know that's the right thing to do. But oftentimes I find that I'm just not doing the right thing. I'm doing the easy thing. And that's what I like about like the iClouds or the Google Photos or the Samsung Cloud or even the Backblaze, honestly. As long as it's running fine, it does take care of a lot for you. And people will talk to you about like Spider Oak, and there's other services for sure that do this stuff. But that's kind of where I'm at. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the NAS stuff is because at one point, I think it was Angie Jones at one point in time asked, how quickly can you possibly back up your iPhone to get all of the, like if you've got 256 gigabyte iPhone and it's full of photos, how can you back those up in order to make sure that one, they're backed up, and two, like start taking photos again because like you're on a trip or something like that. And it took me a long time to like realize like the fastest thing I've got is over Wi-Fi. Actually, it's not the USB cable is very slow, unfortunately. So it's got to be Wi-Fi. And my Synology NAS is actually the fastest I've got in terms of write speeds, like how fast it can write from the Wi-Fi to it. And it's still like 120 megabytes a second. And 256 gigabytes is a lot of data over 120 megabytes a second. It's not fast. It takes a long time. We're talking like 2 hours. It's pretty bad. And like if you're on a trip and you've got forced downtime to back this stuff up. And we're assuming that you brought your Synology NAS with you on your trip. Right? Or your VPN to home and like somehow you've got a gigabit connection. Like perfect world. It's still very terrible. But that's what I've done. So I've tried most of the NASs. And I may not have told you this before, but like I'm a bit of a NAS aficionado. So this network attached storage stuff. So I've tried Asus. I've tried TerraMaster. I've tried Synology, and I've tried like building my own with like free NAS or true NAS or what have you, like an Ubuntu box and stuff like that. And I personally have landed on Synology as the best, but like I've talked to people about all of them, and there's always issues. But one of the things that I like about these boxes, most of them, will allow you to do things like the S3 backup or the Backblaze backup, or like even grab stuff from iCloud.
There was that other one, that other backup tool where if you had two friends, and you had at least one friend, and they loaded up the same software, you were kind of backing up together.
Was it there was like an rsync kind of thing? It's not rsync the tool, but
no, it was like it might have been a level of Backblaze. Wasn't there? Didn't Backblaze have a Backblaze to a person that you knew?
That's pretty smart.
But they
I know
rid
they've
of
got the B2 service. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that, but that's the thing. If you can, like, if I could cordon off a certain amount of your space, like it's a terabyte, because for Backblaze, for me, what I want in that drive that you can like ship is like I want to ship it to my parents' house or like my mother-in-law's house in Japan, like some other geographic zone. So if I like lose everything, like I've got a backup kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we used to do backups where it was backing up to a tape, and it wasn't really a cassette tape. It was, I don't know what like format LTO. Was. I mean, you do there's a 7-day backup strategy, and the seventh one gets taken to your house, and rotating through those, so that you've always got at least the last few days right there in the office, and if everything burned down, then you've still got one from 7 days ago, or maybe it's the last one that you take offsite. I don't know.
There's different strategies, and sometimes like your weekly backups might be different than your dailies, that kind of thing. But I've only ever met one person backing up their digital photos to tape, and I kind of thought they were both brilliant, as well as like you've got a lot of time in your hands because it takes a while to like actually write to a tape, unfortunately.
I mean, I've often had the plan. I mean, there's this theoretical plan that I've often had where it's either using what are tools like Hedge or ChronoSync or any of those types of tools, and I goes and see my mother as we bring Stella over to her grandmother's place, at least once a week. Sometimes we see her twice a week. It'd be great just to leave that backup at her house, or even to upgrade her internet connection because it's awful. But upgrade it so that I can just have another big disk storage right there, and now I've got offsite storage that's not Backblaze, that is not going to get deleted after 30 days.
Right. Your second data center, as it were. Yeah.
Second data center. Yeah.
or your availability zone, AZ2. US
exactly.
West 2.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at this point in time. It's like the cloud stuff, like I trust them, honestly, and most of the time, if anything's deleted, it's my fault. Like my credit card's expired, or I haven't like backed up in a long enough time. But I do feel like that physical something, it be it printed or like an album of photos or a CD or a Blu-ray or what have you. It is like it should be part of that strategy, and I'm not there. I don't print my photos ever, and I probably should. And that's kind of what sort of got me thinking about this. Is like I can't be alone. And I talked to a few people.
Yeah.
Like I talked to my hairstylist recently. You can tell I got finally got my haircut, and talked to her about what she does. And she said she plugs her iPhone in and then like writes it out to like a USB drive. Again, we talked about Kelsey this morning, talking about like how people just don't know how to find the photo in their phones either. Like they might not even understand that there's a search there to get to the children's photos, that kind of stuff. And I feel like we're just creating all these like disposable, like a disposable archive as opposed to something that's going to be around forever. And it's just sort of like, I hope it's not lost. And you look at this, people like the Internet Archive, that like if you put it up in the public space, they may grab it for you. But like that's hope. Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
I just feel like this market is sort of untapped, but they're trying, but it feels like it's untapped.
I mean, I have an older Synology, many generations back, sitting in the other room, along with a QNAP box. Actually, I actually bought that for a Datadog event, because we knew we were going to have terrible internet, but it turned out we had terrible local network as well. And for disk images when we used to do that.
Right.
And then, but then also, I even have an old Drobo, like the first generation Drobo.
Yeah.
When you bought that secondary box to make it a NAS.
Right.
And it's super loud.
Right. Yeah. The fan's probably going in it.
Yeah.
These.
But and at the moment, I mean, my one backup is that external storage that I mentioned, and then I have a couple of other SSD mobile small little things. The Samsung, I guess they're on the T7, but I have a T3 that still works.
I've heard those are really good. A lot of videographers actually will do it, and that is maybe the last point that I've got. So like photos are one thing, but videos, what do you do for those?
Yeah.
Do you save your videos? A lot of people delete their videos.
Yeah, no, that's brave. I try to save them because there's that one that I don't have saved that I keep thinking, well, maybe it's on a disk that I just haven't. Yeah. And that was, I took a whole bunch of footage when I was riding in a friend's private plane in Australia, and we did Sydney Scenic 1, which is a route that takes off from, I can't remember the name of the airport, but it's that private airport, the for small planes. It's the busiest airport in the Southern Hemisphere, but busy, huge. So we took off from there, and then we did, flew over Sydney Harbor, and then just this corkscrew down. So you kept passing by the Opera House and the bridge and everything. It was amazing. I did all this footage from that and gone. So because of that, I have not. I think I have the original footage for every, all 85 videos I've done on my YouTube channel.
Right.
And a lot of the ones I did for all the videos I did for Datadog, I think I still have, and the ones I did for all the others, Profit Bricks and a bunch of other companies. But I don't really have a good. Some of that stuff exists in a tool called. It's a damn digital asset manager tool, not Kino, because they went out of business, I think. Mm-hmm. But there was another one.
There's Extensis Portfolio. I don't know if you've ever used that. It's still around, but like I haven't used it in years.
It's called.
And then there's Adobe Bridge is what I used for the longest time until came around.
Yeah.
But walk me through that. So do you take your footage like on your probably like a
Keyflow Pro?
Keyflow, okay.
Keyflow, yeah.
So if you took a
So
Drobo footage, like
yeah,
sorry, not Drobo, GoPro footage, where would that land? Would you just import it into the Drobo immediately, or?
well, I don't use a Drobo, but if I did, so actually I think that all the when I ingest new footage, I'm usually using right now I'm looking at my MacBook Pro for work, but I also have this iMac that's over here, and the iMac is where the that 8 terabyte disk is attached.
Okay. So
And so I will import the footage there, and depending on whether I think about it or not, it will probably go into that Keyflow Pro,
okay.
And then I can use that in Final Cut Pro.
Gotcha.
But then sometimes I think, oh well, it's just a quick video. I'm just recording stuff on my computer, and so I create a library just for that in Final Cut, and then that library becomes that unit that I can back up, to a compressed disk image, or something else.
That's pretty good. Does the compressed disk image save you any space? Because I've noticed that like video files, I have a really hard time wrangling them. They just don't.
Yeah.
So
compress. I mean, I use another tool called Final Cut Library Manager.
Okay.
So if I'm using Final Cut, I don't know. I don't think you are. You're using Resolve or something, or
I use Final Cut as well. Yeah, I gave up and
so
paid Apple. I think it was $300. I just gave them the money.
Yeah, I paid $300. Like I don't know. 10,
I know that's a lot
ago.
of money. Like honestly, it's you pay it once.
But 15 years ago,
yeah,
amortized is like nothing.
Not bad.
So there's this tool called Final Cut Library Manager, and it'll show you all the libraries that are on your machine and on all the attached disks, and even the ones that are no longer attached. It'll still show you a kind of this catalog of all the libraries.
Right.
And then for all the ones that are currently accessible, you can check the boxes to delete all the generated footage.
Oh, that's nice.
And so
like all the proxies and stuff like that.
All the proxies all at once, because that can be regenerated. You don't need that.
Right.
And so you just check all the check boxes and save. Like, I mean, I run it every few weeks, and it always returns often 400 gigabytes or more.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, for me,
per
it's
run.
Easily 20 to 30 every time I clean up my Final Cut library.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's amazing. Final Cut Library Manager. And it wasn't, I think it was something I got through FX Factory.
Okay.
But,
and then from there, so just to close this out, is there like so I know you're printing photos on things in your background. Do you make a Blu-ray or a DVD of these, or do they just sort of sit similar to the photos? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I know there's video search.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, where's the final video? Is that kind of? I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Where does it?
So so that for some things they're on my YouTube channel. That's the final archive is the published video, which has actually burned me a bit because, not because of any problem with YouTube, but I did a whole bunch of videos with, so I did a whole bunch of videos with my, before Datadog, I worked at a company called Blaster. I did a bunch of videos for them. Those videos are no longer there. So those videos are gone. And the company before that was a company called Yoda. I did a bunch of videos there. All those videos are gone. Then before that, I did a bunch of videos at OpenText. And OpenText is a big company, and they decided, this fax and document delivery channel, that shouldn't exist. Delete. And so, so a whole bunch of videos disappeared then. And I shouldn't have relied on YouTube to store all those videos.
Right. So, so I've been told, like, when. So
I mean, then somebody else owns your channel,
right?
They can delete your stuff. And I probably have a whole bunch of stuff in Wistia for Datadog. I don't have access to that anymore.
Right. Fair enough. And that's what someone recommended to me is, like, when you do a talk or something like that, back it up. And the first talk I did, it just happened to be cloud native. kitchen, I think is what it was called, and they sent me like a chef outfit, and this is like my first talk for Datadog, and I did a talk, and I was just, it was so cringeworthy. But then later I went up and I was like, I should grab this because it's actually kind of funny now. It's been a bit, and now like the humble beginnings, right? It's no longer there, so I can't download it. I don't have access to the footage anymore. But I agree with you. It's really weird when you're sort of transferring ownership of your content to somebody else, to like a different branded channel or something like that, where you lose access to it, unfortunately. So hopefully we can archive
the same was
in YouTube forever.
The same is true with any code that you write. I mean, the whole Datadog Learning Center, I mean, all that entire back end is something that I created. And it doesn't really, I guess, but I worked for Datadog at the time, so therefore it belongs to Datadog.
This is definitely another topic I want to talk about. Is like you're testing.
Who owns stuff?
Well, not just that, but like your code.
IP?
Like yeah, exactly. So when you're creating code on a regular basis, be it in GitHub or what have you, where does it land? How do you keep it? You're not printing that code out.
Yeah. So like I did a bunch of, between my time at, after I left Playster and before I started at Datadog, I did a whole bunch of videos for a German company called Profit Bricks. They did software-defined networking and online, kind of like an AWS, but smaller in German. They were owned by the same guy that started 1&1 or 1+1, which is, I think, the largest domain registrar in the world.
Yeah, it is, in fact.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
and so as a side project, this guy created Profit Bricks. So I did a bunch of videos for them. And one thing that was really nice in the contract that we signed is that they specifically said, we want to publish these videos on our channel, but if you want to publish them on yours too, that's fine.
Oh,
so
like
they
dual use.
belong to both of us. Yes.
Nice.
And I have that same kind of relationship with Infra where I am now, where, yes, I create them but if you want to post them on, Technoevangelist, that's great. That gets us seen by more people.
That's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it in terms of like the digital domain in the back end. Hopefully we like inspired somebody out there to do it. I think I will think at least about like grabbing a Backblaze hard drive. I don't know. Maybe
I think we inspired ourselves to take this stuff more seriously because we're probably going to get burned again.
It's so true. Matt, always great to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah. So we're going to do this again next week, right?
That is
really?
Yeah.
Like we skipped a week because stuff came up. But we're going to do it next Tuesday
always
at
good
2.
Stuff to talk about. I'll be
the two of us on Tuesdays at 2.
At 2.
At 2. Well, as long as you're in Pacific time, which is the best coast. Yeah.
I will stay in Pacific. All right.
Okay. Cool. It's good talking to you. Bye. And broadcast.